fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
All right, welcome back to Wind Tunnel TV. Tonight, it's the Alive Church Xfinity Series here at Dover Motor Speedway for the Dover 175. I'm Dean Doucette. He's Jared Carr. Jared, one of our favorites here, Dover.
Yeah, probably my favorite track on the service, I think, Dean. And, you know, we're early in this season, but, you know, last week we had a great race that saw, you know, Bryce Reiner grabbed his second victory in RGR, and it was, you know, a big strategy race. No cautions in that thing. And Dover can be a little bit more difficult, Dean. A lot of guys, you know, you watch these races and been a part of these races a lot. Turn 4 can get tricky on a long run. Guys slap that wall, come back down the track. It can be very precarious out there.
Well, it can, and I always find it interesting when someone says turn 4 as opposed to turn 4 and turn 2, because the track has two distinctly different corners, unbeknownst to some people, Jared.
Yeah, the track, I mean, you look at it from a surface level and a schematic level, the track is the same. We have, you know, the standard oval shape, if you will, at this track. It is not, there's nothing abnormal about it, but as Dean was alluding to, it's all about how you drive the turns, right? And turn 2 is a little bit, I don't know what the right word is, but there's a little bit more of character out of that corner that can really upset the car, whereas turn 4 just feels a little bit tighter, and you'll just see guys just kind of drift up there toward that wall as the race goes on.
Absolutely. Looking on Bryce Reiner, last week's winner there, as we bring up the championship standings early in the season, 2 weeks in. George Leal on top, Buckshot Ripka second. You got Bernard Persson, Darren Bruce, Jason Jackson in your top 5. Then Williams, Reiner, Ratliff, well, both Ratliffs, Greg and Tony, and Jason Spear. Bit of a murderer's row up front early here, Jared.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we raced at Dover in the RGR full season way back in April, Dean, and Greg Ratliff led 120 of those laps, of 160 laps that we raced last time. We're racing 175 tonight, so a longer race, 15 laps longer, but if you remember, Thomas Wolf kind of was coming on strong toward the end of that race, and was almost got to Greg Ratliff and won that. We also have Ripka in the top 5 with Beller and Bruce there, and Rachel Hunt finishing 6th. All those drivers here tonight except for Thomas Wolf, Dean, and you know, you look at the qualifying list. How about Brian Helm? Best qualifying effort since he's gotten into the RGR League, and he's in 2nd place starting on the grid. And last week's winner, Bryce Reiner, back in 9th, Dean. It's going to be interesting to see how those two dichotomies come to play here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things that can happen out on the track here tonight. Dover leads into that. Jared, like, it seems to be with the car driving a little different than when I remember it, say, a year ago, 2 years ago. Now, the changes, I mean, I've always entered low, did a little mini diamond and come off. Is that still a viable way around this track?
Yeah, there's two different ways, and I think the second way is that you wrap it. You wrap the whole way around the bottom. And I've seen some guys, especially in the Contender Series, make time like that. But the one thing I will say is you cannot be afraid to move around. We saw it last time we were here. Adam Newton, Thomas Wolf, they ran the high side, Dean. And they made a lot of good progress toward the end of that race, moving up through the field. And I expect whoever is going to start in the back and needs to get to the front, they're going to have to use that outside groove.
Yeah, we've seen some odd lines on that high side, like Scott Olson back a ways back, pulling some real speed off that high side with a bit of a funky line there. We'll see if anybody tries that tonight. But right now, let's get into tonight's starting grid. It's going to be Lance Buckshot Ripka in the 52 out front with a time of 24:036. Brian Helm will start on the outside of row 1. It's George Leal and Greg Ratliff in row number 2. Rachel Hunt with a good qualifying tonight in 5th, along with Jason Ratliff. Also, good job by Jason here. Jason Jackson and Bernard Person in row 4. Row 5 going to be Bryce Reiner, Paul K. Travis. Row 6 will feature Tony Ratliff and fellow Canadian James Hebert.
Yeah, and that's their top 12. You look at row 7, we got Klaus Williams back there with George Dibble, who qualified tonight, Dean. He's not starting dead last here tonight. Jason Brantley and Jason Spear in row 8. Row 9, Todd the Toadman Gilly and Corey Buskirk back there. And then Jacob Musial in 19th takes the final time. We got Nick Baris, Edward Kane, Michael Walker II, Eric Beller, Fred Lester, Eric Whiting, and Michael D. Taylor rounding out our 26-car field. Those last 7 not taking times tonight.
All right, almost ready to get rocking here. Kind of looking forward to this one. See how everybody tackles the monster here.
Green flag, green flag.
And a quick green flag deep in the corner is the Geico zone. Ripka and Leal down and away. The fight for third. Helm and Hunt, Ratliff and Jackson in there.
Everybody getting through there really nicely. Still got, looks like George Leal on the outside, or sorry, Brian Helm on the outside. Rachel Hunt down to turn 3, but the top 2 have scooted away.
Yeah, the top 2 absolutely getting away. Helm trying to get up some momentum on the high side, but Hunt looking strong here this evening.
Rachel finished 6th last year when we were here, Dean, so no surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, Klaus Williams a little further back. They get single file, so things get singled out rather quickly. Ripka out front. Leal trying to chase. Hunt has cleared Brian Helm for third.
Hunt doing a good job there on that move. Brian Helm, you know, he's an old school racer, Dean. He probably very used to having to save tires significantly. So we got a pass for 4th, 5th position there as Bryce Reiner underneath Jason Jackson. Reiner moving forward.
Yeah, no big surprise there. Reiner always on the move, it seems. And tonight, no different. He sees those leaders getting away. He says, no, I got to get on my horse here.
Dean, I remember, I always like to bring this up because it's a fun story. But a few years ago, me and Dean were starting to race. I think that's probably been about 5 years ago. We started racing together. And I was at Dover. And I qualified, 6th, 7th position. And Dean qualifies on pole. Dean's running a pace, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I am way faster than this. I'm going to the front. And I passed all those guys, passed all 6 of these guys. They were riding behind Dean. I was like, what a bunch of losers. Well, about 10 laps later, 15 laps later, I'm caught, and I not only am passed by all those guys, I am dropping like a rock down into like 10th, 12th position. And, I learned my lesson that you can't abuse this racetrack very quickly, Dean, that night.
Yeah, I remember that specifically. I mean, we kind of waved at you when you went by, Jared, saying, we'll see you in 10 laps. And sure as you know what we did. But, a little follow-up on that story, Jared has graduated from that class and moved on to become the teacher since then.
Yeah, it took a lot of lessons, though. Let's be real here.
Well, that's part of it, right? We talk about it week in and week out on here as we look in on Jason Ratliff, and he's fighting Bernard Person. Person goes to the high side here. Jason Ratliff might even be an example of it. You got to learn your lessons first. If you're willing to learn, you're going to improve. Is that not true?
Absolutely, and I think this is a great learning track for a lot of drivers. Because even though the surface has changed and you can drive this track harder, like, back when that race happened, I think that if I had driven that track that hard, Dean would have probably also been driving that track that hard. You could drive that track as hard as that now, but you still have to be cognizant of the long run, as this track does eat up tires. It just doesn't eat them up as much as it used to since those refreshes on the track.
Well, that's kind of where I was going to go, Jared. Things have changed, and they're always changing. You really have to evolve here on iRacing as Ripka continues to lead Leal here. Have these guys, these 2 in particular, Ripka and Leal, gone out too hard, or are they already managing their stuff?
We look at these lap times, and Ripka did a 7.84. It's going to update here at the line. So we got a 7.38, a 7.81, a 7.16, a 7.19. So Ripka had one bad lap, but it's come back to it. Everybody's in the sevens. We do have some guys running their best laps of the race, though. George Dibble down in 14th with a 7.77. So most everybody in the sevens. So we'll have to see how this race goes on. But what I'm watching right now, Dean, is you watch Rachel Hunt. She has already started to migrate to that middle line in 3 and 4, really entering and then letting that car way wash up the track. A high diamond, Dean, whereas Brian Helm right behind her is running a shallow diamond. And then you have Bryce Reiner behind both of them, who's wrapping the bottom. 3 different styles right there in the camera shot.
You know, I ask you about racing line, like you're talking about right there, is maybe moving to the middle a little better, this and that. But I gotta think it's wherever you can minimize your wheel turn, Jared. It's not necessarily where you run; it's how you run, right?
Yeah, I don't know if wheel turn is right. It's all about all inputs. Like, how much throttle because every input you're using, you have to have an equal and opposite input to save tire. So it's not just about wheel input, but the other thing is, when you run higher, you're able to kind of drift that car in and use a little bit different inputs to kind of keep wear balanced on that machine a little bit differently than if you run the bottom. Bottom has its advantages, up has its advantages, but really it's all about, at this track, keeping your momentum up as much as you can. That's why we see a lot of people move around this track.
Right now on board with Bryce Reiner. He sits in 5th position right behind Helm and Hunt. Just ahead, you can see Leal inching back to Ripka for the lead. So Leal, one of those guys who can manage his stuff with speed. Jared, that is the current state of iRacing, isn't it? It's not about, hey, let's lay back and save. You got to go, but you got to do it the right way, and I think Leal does that.
Yeah, he does, and he's done a really good job this season. And you look at those races we've covered over the last 4 or 5 weeks, where he's been a top 5 driver every single week. Now, he's not a guy that's been able to run full time, which is kind of a disadvantage. I mean, we'd love to see him in that point fight, right? But he knows his strengths, and he is able to just play his strengths. And one thing, Dean, I will say, is he doesn't get caught up in trying to hunt somebody down. He's just like, I'm running this pace, and if I finish second, I'll finish second. If I finish 18th, I'll finish 18th. And he just lets the race come to him, and that's so important at a track like Dover.
It really is. Right now, lap 16 at 175. Clean and green start to it. It's Ripka, Leal, Hunt, Helm, and Reiner in the top 5. Jackson, Greg Ratliff, Bernard Persson, Jason Ratliff, and James A. Bear in the top 10.
Yeah, Brian Helm getting under a little bit of a pressure from this group. I mean, this top, let's say, from 3rd all the way back to, I guess Bernard Persson is the last car in that line. That's starting to tighten up. Those cars are tightening up, and the race leader is getting away. This gap has gone from 1 second between Leal and Hunt to 2 seconds over the last 5 laps, Dean. And you're starting to see everybody starting to concertina up there, and we're going to have a big battle on our hands.
Well, that's the thing. They got such a good start, did Ripka and Leal, that the rest of the field, or that group in particular, kind of sped up, Jared, trying to run them down.
Yeah, and I think that was the determinant, right? And the other problem is this car is so aero locked. I think, right now, I think Reiner's the fastest of this group, but he can't find a way around because he's so aero locked in with Jackson behind him and Helm in front of him. And you have Rachel Hunt just kind of controlling a pace right now. And until those tires really drop off the cliff here in about 10 more laps, I think this group is kind of locked in, and they're going to watch the top 2 just scoot away.
Look a little further back. You got Nick Barris here. He is in 18th, up a couple. Right behind him, Corey Buskirk. Michael Walker the second and 20th. Fred Lester 21st. Eric Whiting back in 22nd. Those guys all moving up a few spots here. Beller, oddly enough, way back here.
Pass for 3rd, and Brian Helm and Reiner made contact. Sorry, Dean.
All right, Helm and Reiner going at it. So up the track goes Helm. Reiner looks underneath. Bryce Reiner coming with a head of steam, but Helm on that high side trying to hold him off. This is going to be tight on exit, but Reiner going to clear him.
Yeah, it looked like Helm didn't really think that there was going to be a move there, and already started his normal entry into turn one, and a little bit of contact with Reiner. Luckily, everybody got away, but did push Helm up the track. So Reiner moves to third. And you see, Dean, that pass, look how much it allowed Rachel Hunt to get away from this group. I mean, she was able to extend a half a second on this group just because of that little battle there.
Yeah, a good-looking race here for Rachel Hunt tonight. Nice-looking race car, too. Some flames on there tonight, Jared.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people, everybody in this league, I think, knows Rachel Hunt and her story. But I think a lot of people look at Rachel, and it's like, oh, okay, well, she's on the service and she's doing good, but Rachel Hunt was somebody that was a force to be reckoned with on this service. It still is. I mean, very good driver, but I mean, Rachel would win a lot of races in my time.
Well, I consider myself okay back in the day, Jared, and I once recruited Rachel, didn't know her, just from racing several open races with her. She was always around me, either beating me or right behind me, and I thought, wow, oh, and Bernard Person pulling off the track. So Bernard Person on lap 24 going on to pit road here. This could be a retirement. My goodness.
Yeah, it's tough. He was in 8th position as he comes down pit road. Not sure what happened there, but he is definitely going to pit road.
Yeah, it's a definite retirement there from the 8. Anything could be going on there. Something at home, most likely. Hunt and Reiner sitting in 3rd and 4th behind Ripka and Leal. There's Helm under heat from Jackson, and someone to look out for. Greg Ratliff looks comfortable here tonight, and if Greg can get comfortable and get in a rhythm, watch out for him, Jared.
Well, he dominated this race last time we were here, Dean, and it's kind of crazy to see that him didn't have a good qualifying tonight, didn't have where he wanted to be at, I think, in a lot of ways. It's be interesting to see where he ends up as this race transposes toward the end, but 5th place, I don't think he's going to be happy with running in 6th place right now.
No, he's not happy here for sure, but he's managing his stuff a little bit. We'll see if he can get up here and get some damage later on. Right now, it's all Buckshot Ripka out front. Let's get a good look at this beautiful paint job here. Got Mission 22 on there. Of course, the Ripka Designs, that's where that paint comes from. Go check them out.
Right now, as we get through lap 28, Reiner underneath Hunt, and Hunt lets him go. And we don't see that a lot. We see it a lot in this league, but not in the open servers anymore. A lot of guys don't want to race you really hard the whole entire time, but Reiner getting around Rachel Hunt. Now we'll see what he can do in some clean air now.
Yeah, and you can see he's getting away already, right? Reiner has got speed. I mean, last week's winner, he likes the car, and he is going to try to go to the front. Let's get a look at his car as well. You see there, Team Conti on the side.
Yeah, good looking paint there for Bryce. And you look back further, Brian Helm lets Greg Ratliff go. So Ratliff been saving a little bit, but still lap time wise, it's Leal and Ripka that are really putting down the best laps of the entire field right now.
Well, this is where it gets interesting now. If Ratliff can get up here and clear Hunt, I think you'll see his lap times come down below that of the leaders. But I'm not sure of that. I'm very interested to see, Jared.
Yeah, I'll be interested too. Reiner has put in good lap times, but they're not good enough to catch those guys that are 3 seconds ahead of him right now as Ratliff gets underneath Hunt there. So everybody's starting to feel out this track and kind of figure out where they're going to be running in this race, I think.
Well, such a massive lead they got out to. You look up here to Ripka. I mean, my goodness, they got such a good start. You see, the gap to Leal is about the same as it has been for a while. And Reiner, I think he is closing in a little bit, Jared.
Yeah, we had 9:44 and 9:12. Reiner with the 9:58. Ratliff 8:71. He was the fastest guy on track. Then we have Rachel at a 26:169. Helm at a 9:87. Jackson 9:79. Jason Ratliff 9:97. And Ebert at a 26 flat in your top 9.
So we're going to see a lot of guys out here. If this thing goes green, I mean, they could be multiple laps down, Jared. These things take off pretty quick here, and we're setting a pretty good pace. So guys at the back end, they got to be wary. I mean, Musial is going to be first up. He's just crossing the start-finish line now. And here comes Ripka out of 4, so he's about a half a track behind, maybe a little less than that.
Yeah, you can do, 25-second lap time, so he's about 7 seconds in front of our race leaders. So he's more than a half a track at this point. So I think Musial is going to be under some pressure, but the lap times really, everybody up until, you get back around 19th position, everybody running good lap times. Everybody, at least in the 26 flats, in your top 18. The last little bit of guys are the ones that are kind of struggling on lap times, which includes Eric Beller, who led some laps here last time we were here. So not having the race he wants back there in 20th.
Yeah, Beller currently shown in 19th now. He looked like he'd be lollygagging around there at the very back. Maybe he's starting to make a little bit of a move, but very unusual to see him this far back. Beautiful reflective paint he's got on there.
Absolutely. And tough weekend for the old UK Wildcats. Got throttled by their in-state rivals, went to the game, sat in the freezing cold to watch them lose. So that was a great experience that I'll never forget.
Well, in case those who don't understand sarcasm, we're getting a little bit there from Mr. Carr.
Ooh, a little great battle here mid-pack. That's Bear and Paul K. Travis, Jason Ratliff right there. That's a great little battle there for about 8th position. I think actually Brian Helm might be the car in front of Ratliff there that's battling.
Klaus Williams just got passed by Tony Ratliff and Jason Brantley there. I think you're looking a little further ahead. Yes, so there you go.
Yeah,
there's Jason Ratliff there. And yeah, Helm is struggling out here. He seems to have burned up his stuff there in the early going. And that's what I noticed about Dover. I mean, it's always been that way, but particularly now, if you run a certain way, your car's just going to go away on you. Yeah,
you have to run it, and that's what I was talking about. It's all about the multiple inputs. It's all about keeping. You have to keep. It's unfortunate, but you have to keep throttle in this car more than you've ever had to keep throttle in this car, and that's the thing that a lot of people have struggled with. If you let off, this is something that a lot of people don't realize. If you let all the way off the gas, that car will tighten up way quicker than if you keep a little throttle in it, and that goes for every track on this service except the heavy braking tracks like Martinsville. You have to keep a little throttle in it.
So does that go hand in hand, Jared, with maybe a little bit of trail braking versus the full lift?
Yeah, if you're at the point where you're really, really slow at this track, you're going to have to keep throttle in it, and you're just going to have to let off earlier. You really can't use the brakes here anymore, unfortunately.
Hearing you talk about that reminds me of the old high-powered Cup car. You know, when we used to go through those corners, and you can imagine who I'm thinking of. We used to do battles sometime, and, you just could not lift. If you lifted, you were going around.
Yeah, exactly. And, I wouldn't say it's necessarily like that. It's all about just these cars are so aerodynamic dependent, and without that tape on the front end of them, you have to keep the throttle in it to keep that aerodynamic platform from really shifting too much. If you let all the way off the gas, you're really going to shift that aero balance, forward, and it's going to cause that car to get tighter. And I know how I used to drive this track. You let full off, you let the car roll in the center and get back on the gas midway off. Unfortunately, you just can't do that as much as you used to be able to.
I want to give Greg Ratliff another shout out. He just passed Bryce Reiner for 3rd. So Greg Ratliff absolutely making hay again here tonight.
Last time he finished leading 120 of 160, Dean. But we still got a lot of pit stops. We've got a lot of pit stops in this race to go. This is not, last season, Dean, we were running, I think, a little bit different fuel load, if I'm not mistaken. I think now we're running a full fuel load,
yes.
From what I understand.
We were running 75, and now we're running 100.
Right, and we got 15 laps more. So this is going to be really interesting because the pit window we normally run 110 in the open races. So our pit window, we want to get on pit road around 60, 55, 60 because the tires are really your big enemy here. But when you have a full tank of gas, you have that many laps, you're going to have to stretch this thing as much as possible in order to try to make it to the end here.
Well, that's the thing, Jared, as we go back up front, there's Ripka, there's Leal, and there is Ratliff in third. We look at the times right now, we're pushing close to 2 seconds, not quite, but 1.7 or so difference from best to their last lap. Now, that's only going to continue to get worse. One of the beauties of Dover, if you're playing some kind of strategy, say 2-stop versus 3-stop, or the other vice versa, right? 3-stop versus 2-stop in some cases can work because there's consistent drop-off at this track, Jared.
Yeah, I mean, we start, you look at Greg Ratliff's times. I mean, he started off running his best lap around a 24.8. He's down to a 26.1, so it's 1.3 seconds of fall off and 45 completed laps. So that's a pretty big fall off. Not as much as it used to be, but it's still a pretty sizable fall off. So you think about that, you do start to get in the realm of, is a 3-stop possible? As we got Brian Helm on pit road. Don't know if that's scheduled or not.
Yeah, I mean, he's effectively going to be on a 3-stop at this point. I mean, if you're going 2-stop, some quick wrong math is going to put you around 60 laps, right? Just under 60 laps. If you want to go on 1-stop, try and go, 88 laps, Jared? Is that possible?
I don't know. I was just trying to look at my data from earlier this year when we ran open there.
Like, I'm thinking 80 to 85 is pretty much the max, but 88, not that far away. So the question is someone got to save, and is it worth it at a track like this? Can you effectively save and still win the race? I don't think he can, Jared.
Now let's look. Let me, I wanted to look and see. So you can do 81 or 70, 78 laps. You can do 78 laps easily here. You can push it to 81. So that's kind of your window. So Brian Helm going to have to save a little bit of gas if he's going to do just one more stop here.
Yeah, even for 1 stop, that's interesting. I mean, I think he'd be fine for 1 stop, Jared. 125 left.
Yeah, he pitted on 45 though, so he's still going to have to pit.
Definitely got to pit again, there's no doubt. These guys here, I think what you're going to see, Jared, is around lap 58 or so is going to be scheduled stops for the majority of the field. Will someone, out there try to save fuel, try to go on 1 stop, try and make 88? I don't think it's possible here tonight, and I don't expect it. The only other question is Helm, was that scheduled for him? Is he going 3 stops instead of 2?
Well, he is currently. I mean, this lap will be more of an indicator of how fast he is. Let's see what he is across the line. Ripka 25.968, Helm at 24.681. So he is only about 1.2 seconds faster right now, Dean.
Okay, well, it's not a whole bunch at this point, but
And he's 2 laps down, so that's the other factor.
Eric Whiting comes on to pit road here. So Whiting at lap 53 hits pit road.
And sometimes you just get to the point where you're like, I've lost the handling on this car. I've got to come in, or I'm going to be all the way back in 20th before you know it.
And I see a lot of guys coming off the corner, Jared, and kind of wiggling away from the wall. That's a pretty normal thing here, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's such a rough ride up there against the wall because of the way this banking is and the fact that it's concrete. It just makes it really difficult.
Let's hop on board here with Lance Ripka and just talk a little bit about the exits here. I know there's almost like a hill, right? And I used to always talk about it as in I'd recycle the throttle coming up that hill, Jared.
Yeah, we go through Ripka. He's coming to pit entry here, so coming off turn 4, the first thing you'll notice, there's banking on the straightaway. This is not a flat straightaway. Coming down into turn 2, you're going to have to lift off hard, a little bit loose on entry there. Lets that car rotate very nicely, but you can hear he still has a little bit of throttle in that thing. It sounds like, if not, it's very minimal, coming off that hill, you can see right there, very bouncy. Helm going to go by, so he's going to have to run the outside line. He's going to get a big run here. He's going to cut all the way down, which is a really fast line here. It puts a lot of pressure on the right rear. But you see right there, the car wants to step out on you as you climb the hill, Dean, off turn 4.
Well, that's what I was getting at. You come up that hill, and it really unloads the car, doesn't it?
Yeah. Unlike a lot of tracks, you know, that have like 1 or 2 degree banking on the straightaway, Dover has 9 degrees of banking. And that makes it really, really difficult when you're expecting a transition. Instead, you get a transition that actually kind of forces you back out off camber, off the corner. And that's why you get so upset off the corners here.
Jason Jackson quietly sitting in 5th here, doing a nice job. Jason Ratliff also solid all night long, but how about Paul K. Travis and James A. Bear? They're up 3 and 4 spots respectively, sitting in 7th and 8th as the Toad Man hits pit road.
Yeah, Toad, I think Todd, he might have gotten in a wreck.
Yeah, looks like he did. Let's quickly look into it here before our leaders take their pit stops as
he hit the barrels.
comes in. Those barrels, dangerous, tough pit stop here. You see here, late entrance, and he just can't coax it down. And wow, that's gotta hurt, Jared.
Yeah, lucky that wasn't a caution. I mean, he did a good job getting off track and getting that thing towed before a caution came out. Ratliff almost wrecked it off turn 14. He was looking at the inside wall. He was so loose.
Wow, so cars going away a little bit here. Lap 59, Rachel Hunt on the pit road. Expect everybody in. What do you like here, Jared? First in?
Yeah, I like. You know, if you're looking at, you know, 81 laps is the most you can do. Is we got Greg Ratliff on. That's not going to make it to the end. Okay, that's only going to get you 160 or so laps. So I think, you know, anywhere from lap 55 would have been where I would want in. But I like, you know, Ratliff coming in. He's undercutting these leaders. He wants that track position, and he knows he's going to have to stop again. So this is going to be a crucial pit stop to see if he can get himself back in this race.
Yeah, I have the math set at 58. That could be wrong. 58, 57. I'm pretty sure that is wrong, Jared. As
far as how much fuel you can do?
No, as in just dividing it into 3 here. I'm
yeah.
having some problems. So we get we'll work that out another time. Jason Jackson here on pit road. Brantley, Baris, you got Williams, Dibble, Walker, all on pit road. Here comes Bryce Reiner.
And Dean, this is the most precarious spot.
Oh, Tony Ratliff sliding in.
As Ripka and Leal go by. I'm impressed with George Leal staying in Ripka's shadow this entire race. I mean, that's hard to do when you're so far ahead. But one thing, Dean, is when these cycle of pit stops start, you don't want to be caught with a caution. And that's something you always have to worry about at Dover during the sequence of green flag pit stops. Guys getting in hot, hitting that tire barrier, faster cars approaching slower cars and not being patient. All that kind of stuff can happen here.
It really can, as Greg Ratliff goes underneath our leader, Lance Ripka here. Obviously has fresh tires on Greg Ratliff's machine. You can see the speed difference there.
Yeah, that little slow up there, I mean, Ratliff wasn't doing anything wrong, but that did allow Leal to cut a couple tenths off the lead. He is right back in the tire tracks of Ripka.
Yeah, Leal's been a little bit quicker here the last 10 laps or so. Oh, and behind him, something going on there. I couldn't quite zone in on it. I think it was Reiner and Jackson, one of them hitting the wall, almost contact between the two of them.
Yeah, Reiner came out a little bit wide off the pit road exit, and I think Jackson kind of got squeezed up in there, but I think that was a net code hit with the wall, so I don't think any damage for the 87.
All right. Still guys out on the track. Lap 65 of 175. A little surprised to see our leader still out here. Reiner underneath our leader. Boy, he was pushing that. Reminds me of me, Jared. You got to scare him a little bit.
Yeah, and Leal lost out there. He checked up a little bit because of Jackson getting underneath of him. And Ripka, you know, actually got checked up there. So there's a lot of give and take between the two leaders as far as the distance goes. But I think Leal might have came out just a little bit better. As you see right now, we are down to 10 cars that have not pitted yet.
Yeah, lap 67 now, so these guys going really long here. I think this is a mistake, to be honest with you, but, you know, we're usually wrong.
Yeah, if Leal and Ripka were able to get out and save a little bit of tire and gas, then maybe this will work. But they are 2 seconds slower than our guys on fresh tires. That's a big gap. So they have to make it for a one stop. Otherwise, they've just hemorrhaged time for really no reason.
Yeah, they continue to go. Jason Ratliff in third, Paul K. Travis fourth, Abear in fifth. Jason Spear quietly moves up to sixth, now up 10 spots. Beller's up 16 into seventh. Edward Kane and Fred Lester, 8th and 9th, are up 13 and 15, and Musial's up 9. Ripka hits pit road. So our leader is in on lap 69, so he's going to look to shorten the next 2 runs here, Jared, about 50 lap runs each. So
almost contact wrecking on the front straightaway, Jacob Musial.
Oh boy, Musial, he looks like he's okay, Jared.
He got rear-ended hard by Paul K. Travis. I don't know how they didn't wreck, but Musial hard on the wall. Travis probably some front-end damage on that machine.
All right, they keep going green. That would have been absolute tragedy for our leader, or who was our leader there in Ripka.
Abear, very, very rough entry for Abear. He may have sped, Dean.
All right, James Abear on pit road right now. Possible penalty coming. Don't look now, but the leaders of the pitters could be Brian Helm with that early stop. You would think it would be. He's coming up on Musial and Paul K right now, or that's Walker the second and Paul K.
Yeah, I like Brian Helm coming in on lap 45. He knows he has to go 3 stops or has to do 3 segments in this race. And he's like, I might as well come in early in the segment and get some track position and then come back out, toward the end there. Because it's going to take a long time for these guys to catch back up to him, even if there's a big speed difference.
Shocking. Leal and Jason Ratliff and a few others still on the track, perhaps trying to stretch it for one stop, Jared. Don't think it's possible, but who knows? If it's not possible, Jared, if they know, say they can only do like 3 more laps or 10 more laps, whatever it is, do you think this is a huge mistake waiting this long to pit?
Yeah, I think it's a massive mistake because you lose so much time. We're talking about a second to a second and a half drop off over 50 laps. That's a lot of time at this track. It's only a mile. So I think this is a massive mistake if you can't make it here. You've got to put all your money into a one stopper if you're the guy still on the track right now.
Don't look now, but our battle off of pit road, you got Helm leading that battle. Here comes Greg Ratliff, who pitted much later, so Greg is coming up already. He will be the leader when this all shakes out. I mean, Leal and others are going to be well behind as Fred Lester comes in.
Yeah, Helm is, he's going to be caught, obviously, but I think I like his strategy a little bit more, because he's going to be able to stretch out this middle, I think, and that's going to make a big difference as this race goes on if he's able to play his cards right here.
So Ratliff got by Helm. Now Bryce Reiner goes by. That's going to be a big battle. Leal and Jason Ratliff, Paul K. Travis, Jason Spear, Edward Kane still out on the track. Looks like Beller might be with them.
6 cars. Yeah, Beller, the last car on the lead lap right now. Leal's still running a decent lap times. I mean, he's only dropped to 26.2, which is not. I mean, we haven't fallen off a lot since we talked about lap 45, which is 30 laps.
And I talked about it, saying it's a very consistent drop-off. That does not seem to be the case, Jared. And that actually would change my strategy, right? That's something I always look for. If you're going to do an extra stop, it has to be consistent drop-off through the entire run. It's very rare, but you got to find the tracks where it happens.
Yeah, if you discount, Leal's laps where he's getting passed by faster cars, it's causing some slowdowns. He's running really 26.1s and 26.2s. He's been running those lap times since lap 40, Dean. So I think this is, that's 37 laps basically with little to no fall off if he's able to have a clean lap. So that's huge. That's massive. And I think that Leo might be, also probably trying to clutch and trying to save a little gas here. He's got to do about 10 more laps, Dean, before I'm comfortable with him making a one-stopper here.
Ripka just went by Jason Ratliff like he was standing still. So Ripka, I should say, sorry. He is going to get up here. He's now 3 seconds behind Greg Ratliff, who's in 7th. So I think he'll catch Greg. I don't know, though. And you see there, he's held up by Helm all over the bumper, waiting for that bottom to open up. He can't get there. This is massive for Lance. He is stuck. And now he makes a move to the bottom.
Yeah, that's huge because that just slowed him up enough to where he's going to lose a little bit of time. He's a little bit patient there, and which I respect, but he lost a lot of time there, Dean, trying to make that move. He did a 25.5, whereas Ratliff is doing 25.2s.
Looking on our pit board here, and you can see our top 6 still have not pitted. They've got to get to pit road, or they got to make it to lap 88 or 87 complete and on fuel. I mean, let alone the tire problems they're suffering with.
Yeah, the one I will say is Eric Beller has ran a pretty slower pace this race, and he was so good last time we were here, Dean, but he only touched the 24s 2 laps in this entire race. And I just wonder if Beller started saving early on. He is in a bad spot, though, because he is only about a second from being lapped. But if there's a guy that might be sneakily saving, it could be Beller, but I think he might have saved too much if that's the case.
Yeah, he may have. And, of course, we always talk about Jason Spear in this regard, too. Not as a slight, but he's so adept at it. Maybe he can make it. We're on lap 83 here. George Leal crossing the line. So I got a funny feeling these guys are really trying to make it work. And, I mean, if Leal can make this work, he's all but sewn up this race if it stays green.
I wouldn't say sewn it up. I mean, this is...
Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that either.
You gain 2 laps by saving a stop. All right, you gain 2 laps by saving a stop because of the amount of time it takes. As you got Jason Spear, we got a fuel warning light on Jason Spear. Is he in pit road?
He is not.
That might not be a fuel warning light then. That might be a talking button light. Sorry, that was talking.
Okay.
I'm not sure actually. I don't know. I've never seen this icon.
What you speak of? Are these on your apps that you're using?
Yeah, I've gotten some icons where these drivers are at the end of their fuel run, according to the calculator, I guess, from laps when I did it here. So that's what
Travis abandons the strategy. He's on pit road on lap 85. So that is not, if that's out of fuel, that is not enough. And again, I think it's a huge mistake to go this long if you can't make it. George Leal coming in. Same thing with Leal.
That's huge.
So we're going to find out if this strategy pays off or not. Going to be interesting. Leal's going to have a ton of work to do through the next 2 runs just to get back up here. Jason Ratliff stays on the track, as does Jason Spear. Beller as well, so 3 people remaining who still haven't pit. Outside of that, it's Greg Ratliff, and right behind him, here comes Ripka. So Ripka, who I thought maybe pitted too late already, going to pass for the lead of the guys who have pitted, but they got traffic, Jared.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is if you are going to try to make it on fuel, you never try to make it on the second run. You try to make it on the first run. So it makes me very concerned that Leal and these guys aren't going to be able to make it to the end of this race. But I tell you, a guy that I'm not concerned about is Jason Ratliff and Jason Spear. These guys are going to make it. I think they'll be fine.
Well, lap 87, that's you need next time you'll have to do 88. So I don't know.
Well, Ratliff's still on the track. I mean, he's completed lap 87 right now.
Yeah, how about the 55 tonight? He's been quick all night, and somehow he's made it to lap 88. The 55 could be in great shape here this evening. He's got Claus Williams coming underneath him. He's got to be careful. He's got to get to pit road here.
No, he stays out another lap. That's huge.
If he can make this lap, it is absolutely huge. So
yeah, hopefully he didn't stretch out too much.
How about this? The Swift and Wesson car is going to try to pull something off here this evening.
Hey, and I love that strategy. He qualified back in 6th position. He dropped into the lower half of the top 15.
On board. Here he comes.
He's on board. He's on pit road. So is Beller. The last 2 remaining.
All right. So Ratliff comes in safely here. Didn't see any baubles. Not sure how quick that was, but he got her on there. That's going to hand it back over to Lance Ripka. You see him there coming by to the start finish, and he is already opening it up, Jared. He's opened up a 1.5 seconds on Greg Ratliff in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, he has. And now I think that these guys are going to have to figure out their strategy, because right now I feel like the only guy that's going to make it from here is Jason Ratliff and Eric Beller. The rest of these guys aren't going to make it, Dean. They're unless they save on the second part of the run, which I personally don't want to do. I want to have it in the bank on the second run, not trying to save it on the first. You know what I mean?
I look in on Jason Brantley here. How about this run? He pitted on lap 60. Virtually the same as everybody except for Ripka, who pitted much later and already leads again. But Brantley, he's having himself a night in 5th place right now, up 10 spots, Jared.
Yeah, good job for Brantley. Pitted on lap 60. Everybody around him, Jackson, Klaus Williams, Greg Ratliff, all pitted pretty much at the same time, Reiner. So he's got an opportunity to maybe get himself into a podium position here with some things going his way. And Ripka's disappeared on my screen. He's back. That was precarious.
Absolutely, it's precarious. Looking on where Jason Ratliff shook out, and he shook out in 13th position, Jared. So this is
right.
He's going to have to stick to his strategy. He is 37 seconds back of the leader.
Brian Helm has made his second stop, Dean, and I don't know. I don't know about that one.
Well, I do. I know what this is. This is called the let's have some fun strategy, Jared. I want some rubber and I want to go racing.
That's the I need a caution, and I needed it 10 laps ago. Pit strategy, I think.
Absolutely. That one's going to be tough to make work, but you never know. Ripka,
he can make it.
Reiner has gone into second now. He got around Greg Ratliff, so the 14's on the move as well. He's 3 seconds back of Ripka. Yeah, Greg Ratliff in third. Jason Jackson's another 3 seconds back. And then Brantley 5 seconds behind that. And Williams a couple more behind that. So lots of space out here. Some questions. How about Leal with that late pit stop? Let's check in on his pit lap just to make sure here. So lap 85. I mean, he's got 2 short runs in front of him, I guess, Jared?
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I think I mean he could save on the back end, but I just don't like that move. I just don't like. You have to go 90 laps, Dean.
Yeah,
I just don't think that's possible.
What he's racing against, we'll look at it one more time, is 2 45-lap stints against Ripka, who's going to have to do 2 51-lap stints. That's not a big of a difference to put yourself 16 seconds behind Lance.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say about Brian Helm is he can make it on fuel from here. I just don't think it's a winning strategy. But he does not have to pit again. I will give him that.
I think he will pit again, regardless.
He's on the tire, using the tire up strategy. I get it. But,
absolutely, pass some cars, and I'm not against it. It's not about that strategy. It's not about race winning. It's about having fun at the track, Jared. Sometimes you're just not having fun. Go get yourself some rubber. Feel fast for a while. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, as Corey Buskirk has come on pit road for his second stop, I want to give some shout-outs to Michael Walker and Fred Lester. Both these guys up 12 and 13 spots, respectively, having a great run inside the top 10. These guys, Walker pitted on 60, Lester on 73. They are 1 lap down, not the first car. That's Rachel Hunt, first lap car down. She just now got her lap back from Ripka.
Yeah, these guys both doing a whale of a job, up 12 and 13 spots. My goodness, I love it for these guys. It's one thing we see around here is we see some great performances, right? And those should be rewarded. A top 10 is no easy task here.
Well, it's a physical track. I mean, this is a track that's a little bit more physical than some of the other tracks, right? I mean, weirdly enough, it is a track that will make you sweat. I mean, 110 laps makes me sweat. I can't imagine doing the amount of laps that they're going to do tonight.
So the last lap, Jason Ratliff turned a 25.03 to Lance Ripka's 25.90, Jared. He's almost a second faster. Now he is 31 seconds back. I mean, but he can make it. I mean, is this his race?
Well, let's do the math. He is going to have to... So you lose 2 laps. Essentially, you lose 2 laps when you pit because it's about 50 seconds down pit road, coming on and off pit road. So you lose 2 laps on the cusp of 3, so about 2.5 laps. Ratliff is going to save all that time. He is going to save 40 seconds. We lose in a run of that magnitude. Ratliff, last time we were here, or last time, Dean, as I've lost my mouse. Where's my mouse gone here?
Not the mouses again.
Oh no, there it goes. Okay, now let's take a look at Ratliff's lap times here. So he started off the race doing a 24.5. He did a 24.5. When he pitted, he dropped all the way off to a 26 flat. So he did a 26 flat, or 26.3, sorry, 26.3. So he dropped off basically, let's call it 2 seconds over 90 laps, 89 laps. So he dropped off 2 seconds, 89 laps. 89 laps times 2, that's 180 seconds, Dean. Let's do the rough math there. I think that this is going to be a net positive for Jason Ratliff, but it's going to be close.
I think he's got it. I mean, Jason Ratliff is continuing to mow down time right now. We look back in on him here. So he's under 30 seconds at 29 seconds. I mean, and he's going to continue to pick up time until Lance Ripka pits. Lance will pit at about another 20 laps. So he's going to continue to pick up time. He's going to get that down to about 20 seconds by the time Ripka pits. Ripka is going to lose 40. He's going to be 20 seconds back with 50 laps to go. I mean, he can do it. It's going to be tight.
Yeah, and I will say this. The one thing that could derail this is, number one, is a caution. That will derail this completely. And number 2 is, if a caution comes out now, he's not even the lucky dog. So his race would be completely derailed if we got a caution right now until he passes Rachel Hunt, who is right in front of him. But I would hate that to happen, but that is something that would derail that strategy, and it could be double derailed if a caution comes out any time before he gets his lap back.
You threw it out in the chat there. You got any math, better math than us? I mean, my abacus is all broken up here, Jared. I've been trying to kick those little things all around. Yeah. It's going to be super interesting here. Ripka, Reiner, Ratliff, Jason Jackson, George Leal, your top 5, Brantley, Williams, Hebert, and Hunt and Jason Ratliff in the top 10. There goes Jason Ratliff underneath of Rachel Hunt. So he's going to move into 9th. Now down to, he's 26.8 seconds behind and continuing to just gobble up time.
Yeah, he's the first car a lap down now. Ripka right in front of him. So if he gets around Ripka, he will be at least back on the lead lap, which would kind of save him from that caution problem we were talking about earlier. Yeah, I think this is going to be a very interesting race because it's all, and that's what the beauty of this lap count is, right? It's you got the opportunity to make it on one stop, but is it going to pay off for you? Or are the tires going to hold off at the end of that run to be worth doing a one-stop strategy? I think tonight, if this race goes green, we're going to find out.
Well, the key, I think, Jared, is he didn't fall to like 20 as saving fuel. He was running top 5 while saving the fuel. So Jason Ratliff has found something here. He's doing something very special. He's back on the lead lap, under 26 seconds all the way around to get back to Ripka. Ripka has to pit. I mean, my money is on Jason Ratliff, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it looked like he, right around middle of part of that run, he was running about 11th. So that's as low as I have him listed on my stuff.
Yeah,
But, either way,
I
that's
might
not
have
bad.
thrown him in fifth there, but I mean, he was having a good run. He was running quick. We talked about him during the first run, so it's not like he was really milking it or
Right,
anything.
yeah.
I was really surprised, actually. I didn't know Jason was, a fuel manager, let's say. They call my quarterback, the Detroit Lions, a game manager, Jared, and I can't stand it. I call him a field general. And I would like to switch the terminology for Jason Ratliff as well. He's not a race manager. He's done something special here.
Absolutely. A couple things to kind of get our viewers back, wrapped up on pit stop. We had 3 penalties. Dibble, Eric Whiting, and Nick Burris all had speeding penalties. So they've been pretty much relegated to many laps down at this point. The other thing I'll say, Dean, about Jason Ratliff to kind of tie all that together, sometimes you look at what your strengths are, and you're like, okay, I'm running laps in practice. I'm not bad. I'm a top 5, maybe, top 10, maybe top 5 kind of guy in this race, but I don't think I'm a winning car. I've got to do something different than Ripka and Leal and all these other guys if I want to try to win this race. And I think Jason Ratliff, instead of trying to go out there and figure out how to be faster than Lance Ripka, I think he figured out how to save fuel better than Lance Ripka. I think that was his strategy going into this race, and I think he's like, hey, this is my chance to win this race and do good in this race. I've got to try this strategy. It's my only option in this race to win this thing, and I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. Jason Jackson comes on to pit road. I love this for him too. He's trying a little bit of a short pit here on the last stint. So he comes in on lap 116 and 175. This is a great move by Jason Jackson. Out front, still Ripka. I mean, he's got a 4.5 second lead back to Reiner and another couple of seconds back to Greg Ratliff.
Yeah, and Jackson came in from 8th place, so he was in the top 10 when he made the pit stop. Paul K. Travis has unlapped himself, so put him back on the lead lap. 9 cars on the lead lap right now. And again, Jason Ratliff continuing to chase down Klaus Williams and A. Bear and Brantley, who are kind of in a gaggle battle for 5th position right now.
Amazing stuff we're seeing. We look in on George Leal, who just passed Greg Ratliff. So that strategy that I was highly critical of. Oh, and we see smoke ahead in the corner. I'm not seeing a car, but there was a pile of smoke in front of George Leal there. Anyway, Leal's strategy that I was critical of, it seems to be working for him as he's running. I mean, he's running with Reiner, I guess, but he's much faster than Greg Ratliff, pulling away from him.
Massive, almost wreck, Dean. Little bit, I'm not entirely sure what was going on there, but Bryce Reiner gets into the side of Rachel Hunt going into turn 3, turns her around, then straightens her up. Rachel Hunt does a whale of a job to hold on to that car, but Reiner was just really, really close. And I think what happened, actually, now that I look at this again, I think Rachel Hunt was letting off, and Reiner just smacked into her because he didn't realize that she was letting off for him to pass. That's exactly what I think happens. We got pit stops going on.
I'm trying to find that, but I think we're going to have to give up on that replay and get back in. Too much important action happening on the track. Greg Ratliff on pit road right now, along with Jason Brantley, who's had a stellar race. And no, he's around on entrance. Not sure what happened. I seen Dibble come through there, but something happened with Jason Brantley on the entrance to pit road. Greg Ratliff pulls into his stall. All looks pretty well there for him.
Yeah, Brantley tried to get it in really tight, and he clipped the barrel with the right rear of the car, Dean, and hit the wall head on pit road, backed up. Yeah, and George Dibble had to take evasive action through the pit stalls to avoid it.
So
tough look for Brantley, who is having one of his best races of his career, Dean, honestly.
Absolutely he was. Just absolutely flying. Tough break for the number 3 there. We look in on Ripka as Claus Williams comes onto pit road. That's from 4th place. So he hits pit road. And, you know, Claus, unfortunately, for whatever reason, the way he runs, he doesn't get a lot of airtime normally, Jared. And he's sitting in the top 5 right now. Ripka going around here. There goes Jason Jackson underneath him. Ripka's opened up an 8-second lead. 3rd place is 17 seconds behind. I mean, he's absolutely dominated this race, but can he beat Jason Ratliff? Ratliff now 22 seconds behind him. This is going to be crucial. Ripka's got to stop. We assume Jason Ratliff doesn't. I mean, my goodness, how about Paul K. Travis? I mean, let's check in on when Paul K. pitted here. He pitted on 84. I mean, he'd really have to stretch it to make it from here.
Yeah, him and Leo, they needed a couple more laps on the front end of this, on the business end of this race, where I think that they could have made it. I don't know if they just were really out or if they thought they could save on the back end of this race. I don't like the strategy of saving when I'm trying to win the race. I like having some in the bank. So I just, you know, I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. But right now, you know, Leo is, you know, he does have that 20 lap tire advantage on Ripka. He is gaining on him, but I don't think he's going to get there before Ripka has to pit.
Yeah, he's definitely not. The gap is too big. 7.5 seconds. He's running about 0.2 quicker than Ripka. I don't think he can get there. Bear pulls off the track to make his stop. A little bit of a bobble, but it looks like a solid entrance there for the 25. And here comes Lance Ripka, our leader. And that looks very solid there. A little slide. That looked pretty aggressive out of Lance Ripka.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that lap time, those pit times are. Right now, Brantley, obviously, with 2 minutes on pit road, so it takes him from a top 5 race to all the way back, the last car running in this race in 21st. A tough break for Brantley, who just goes around Leal.
Rachel Hunt also on pit road. So Jason Ratliff now 14.3 seconds behind George Leal, your new race leader.
Yeah, and I don't know Leal's strategy because, you know, you think about 85, I mean, that only puts you at 170. You know, I don't think he's going to be able to save that much fuel.
Well, I'm thinking 2 laps from now, Jared, it would be the strategy. Split those last two, 45, so that'd put him at 130. I expect him in on lap 130.
And that's not a terrible strategy because you do get those fresher tires, but I don't think he's going to have fresh enough tires to make this work and catch Ripka back up the way he was.
Well, we said, like, he's going to have, I mean, because Ripka just pitted, so, yeah, I mean, if he pits now, the difference is going to be negligible. I don't know. Leal's in a bit of trouble here. I mean, he's still a fast race car, top 3 for sure, but I don't think he can deal with Ripka here tonight. And more importantly, I'm all over the 55, the Swift & Wesson machine at Jason Ratliff. Absolutely loving this strategy. I hope it works out for him. He is now closing in to 14 seconds behind your race leader.
Fred Lester missed getting on pit road. Beller almost ran into the back of him. Now he's trying to pit again right in front of Reiner. A little bit better this time.
He's in the barrels! Jared, he goes into the barrels!
He's on pit road, so this won't bring out a caution. But he needs to get that car moving. He does move it.
He just tows it from there. Lester, unfortunate. Him and Brantley having great runs tonight, thrown away.
Top 10 is where Lester was before all that. And he's done. Man, that's frustrating. You know he's frustrated.
Absolutely, he's frustrated. That's why he towed, because I think the swearing in his car caused him to just say, that's enough of that. Leo leading.
Here's the other thing, Dean. If we get a caution in here, there's a lot of guys in a world of trouble. I mean, we've got only 3 cars on the lead lap right now. And all 3 of these guys have, you know, long pit strategies. Helm comes back in pit road, baby.
Pay my ticket, Jared. I bet on it, and there he is.
3 times. He's, Brian Hill opened up the info menu tonight and he said, I have 6 sets of tires. Well, hell, I better use 5 of them.
Well, we'll see where he finishes. Maybe he gets the top 10 out of this. Who knows?
If he does, man, that's a heck of a job. I appreciate it. I love it. It's given us something to talk about separate from these guys stretching. And Brian Helm's like, I'm not running these tires out. I want to use these next week. Right now, you look at Bryce Reiner. He's in 4th place, 1 lap down, Dean. He is our most recent pitter that's in the top 5. So he right now, you look at this, he's about a second ahead of Greg Ratliff. But Ripka's in this mix as well. Or sorry, about 3 seconds ahead of Ratliff and Ripka, who are right now in 6th and 7th already.
Yeah, right now, Reiner coming up on Helm's actually coming up on Leal with fresh rubber for Helm. So look for Helm to make a move here. Leal's going to give him room. That's no problem. Reiner comes as well. Corey Buskirk hits pit road here.
So that'll put us with 4 cars on the lead lap. Now, Reiner there, Ripka would be the lucky dog. So that's not what Leal would want now. You want to always kind of have somebody that might trap your competition a lap down, but right now Ripka would be able to get back on the lead lap. But he is under a little bit of pressure from Greg Ratliff, but Ratliff on those older tires, I don't think he's going to be able to stay with him.
Yeah, I mean, Ripka at this point, Jared, he's got to come up. He's got to or he's already around Jason Ratliff, so that's interesting. So, yeah, I don't want to try math again, Jared, but I think he's got a lot of work to do in a short time to do it here.
Well, he was 2 laps down to Ratliff, so he's only gotten 1 of those laps back to Ratliff right now.
Well, he's under 13 seconds behind Jason Ratliff, and he is absolutely decimating him. I mean, if I had to bet right now with what I'm looking at as he blinks out, Lance Ripka would come up here and he's going to steal this thing away from Jason Ratliff. I mean, the time is just absolutely coming down like a second and a half a lap, Jared.
We'll see how this transpires. Ratliff might have just stretched this out.
And how about this for a little update? Brian Helm just set the best lap of the race.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not using this last set. He saved rubber on the rest of them. He ain't saving rubber on this one.
Hey, if you're going to pit that many times, I want to see the best lap of the race. He just did it, and he did it by a large margin at 24.17. Unbelievable.
And Leo lets Ripka back on the lead lap. You're right. It's about 10-second gap to Ratliff. So really the only way this is going to work is something massive happening. Leo has the only way this works is if Leo is the guy that makes it to the end of this race.
Jared, I'm willing to open up my wallet again because I'm telling you, he is eating up time. It's like 1.2 seconds a lap Lance Ripka's going by, and he's at 8.7. I can't even call it. It's moving down so fast. Ripka will catch Jason Ratliff. I have little to no doubt of that.
Yeah, this is going to be... I don't know. I don't know if he can make up if Leo has something in the tank. If he has a little bit of a little Joey Logano fuel line in there, he might be. He's the only guy that's got a chance to win this thing. But I just think Leo's gonna have to pit.
Well, you have to enlighten the audience to what a Joey Logano gas line is.
Well, Logano back at Nashville Super Speedway to get himself in the playoffs went 106 laps on fuel when nobody else had gone more than about 90. I think 89, in fact. There was basically like, he's going to have to pit. Brad Keselowski was on the same strategy as him, and there was a green-white checker, and he had to pit on the second green-white checker because he was out of gas. But Logano made all 3 restarts and was able to win the race because of it, which basically allowed him to be in the playoff and win the championship. So.
All right, there you have it, folks. The wealth of knowledge and history from Mr. Jared Carr. So we're looking on Paul K. Travis. So Paul K. Travis and George Leal both on this funky strategy. I mean, I don't think there's any hope they can make it, but they could come in and get a splash and go, I guess, Jared.
Yeah, splash and go is still 40 seconds by the time you think about it, Dean. That's going to kill their race. I mean, they could, but like it's not going to it's not a winning move.
All right. Right now, it's coming down, so look back at Lance Ripka. He's cracked the 5-second mark already, Jared.
Yeah, Ratliff just didn't have the speed on the second part of this run. We got 30 laps to go, and I look at this, and I just have to wonder, is somebody springing a surprise on us somewhere here, or did we get caught? What are we trying to say here? We get caught with the canary in the pen or something like that?
I don't know. Being hyperbolic.
Yeah, I don't know, but we might have gotten caught with looking at the wrong cards.
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, this is pretty much what I expected outside of Ripka's just done exactly what he needed to do, right? He could not afford a mistake. He had a great pit stop. He's running great lap times. I mean, it's what Lance Buckshot Ripka does, and he's done that. Jason Ratliff's playing his strategy the way he has to. I think he's saving a little bit right now. That's why he's hemorrhaging so much time. I think he's already decided, watching this thing drop down to now 3.2 seconds, I think he knows he's cooked for the race win. But he's thinking, hey, can I get a top 3? Can I get a top 5? And that's a great thought to have.
Yeah, I think he's going to come out in a net positive. But I do wonder if, Leo was the only guy, because he was with Ripka. You have to understand, there was a 4-second handicap that Leo and Ripka put on this field, right? Everybody was 4 seconds behind those guys, 5 seconds behind those guys. In some cases, back to the main pack. I mean, 6 seconds is a lot to make up, Dean.
Absolutely. Now that down to 2.4, like, are we sleeping on Leal is the only question remaining. Leal's out there 17 seconds ahead of Ripka and 15 ahead of Jason Ratliff. If Leal can milk this thing somehow, I mean, what a steal it would be for George Leal.
Yeah, and I think Leal has to be smart here. If he's looking at that gas gauge and it's, saying, we got 25 laps and you got 25 laps to go, just lift and coast. Do a little, turn the engine off. Do whatever you can to save just a little bit of gas here because you've got a decent gap. I mean, you still got 17 seconds. Leal is getting about a second and a half a lap. But there's 25 laps to go. So, if my math's correct, that's what, 37 seconds he's gaining on Leal here?
I think you're
right?
a little off. Right now, he's only gaining a half second a lap is Lance Ripka to George Leal.
Half second. I did. That's where I messed up. Half second, not 1.5 seconds. So yeah, I mean, he's going to be close. If Leal can make this race, this is going to put Ripka about 2 to 3 seconds behind at this pace.
Yeah, I mean, if
Leal can make.
If Leal can make it, why don't we hop in his car right now, Jared, and see what we can hear out of this engine? It's awfully quiet, Jared.
He's not clutching, but he could be turning the ignition off, which will save you gas.
Well, we watched the RPMs there. No massive drop on the RPMs. I think he's just trying to coast here. So I don't know. I'm not expecting him to be able to make it, but hey, I was shocked they made it 88 laps to Jason Ratliff. I didn't think that was possible. He did it, and he did it in fairly quick fashion. I mean, if you drove a little slower, you can make 90 maybe. I don't know. It's going to be tight. Jason Ratliff has moved around, Lance Ripka has caught Jason Ratliff now, so it's just moments away from Lance Ripka getting around Jason Ratliff.
Yeah, the only thing I can say is there is a lot of guys battling. We got Greg Ratliff in a big battle with Paul K. Travis and Jason Jackson in there. There's some battles on the track that could create some situations if we get down to it. But, I mean, we're down to 20 laps.
Well, we say it all the time. Anything can and does happen here in the RGR Racing League. Almost week in, week out, something spectacular happens. I'm expecting it. Right now, you see George Leal, he's got a 15-second lead trying to hold off Buckshot, who has now caught Jason Ratliff looking to make a move. He circles high, looking to get a good drive off the corner. He's got it. He's going to head low. That pass is as good as done.
Yeah, Ratliff should have parked him in the middle of the corner a little bit more and cut that angle off. But Repka, great job getting the momentum off the corner. Ratliff back to his bumper, though, off the corner, and that's what I would have done if I was Ratliff. But Ratliff wasn't able to make that move stick. Ripka was able to kind of block that momentum, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd push back on that a little bit, Jared. I mean, there's 20 laps to go. There's no way you can hold off Lance Ripka for 20 laps. So, I mean, he just lets him go, live to fight for a different spot here. He's still got Reiner. He's got a 4-second lead on Bryce Reiner for what would be, right now, third, possibly second if Leal pits.
Leal making this very interesting, because if he can't make it, he's throwing the biggest dummy in history, right? He's making everybody up here, everybody on the track, everybody think that he can make it, and he's going to peel off on lap 173.
Well, I love it. I mean, let's create some drama in here. The Black Rifle Machine doing something, and I don't put it past Leal to be able to make it. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He's showing that to us, Jared. I mean, how many races does he have to win before we believe in him?
0.3 of a second is all that Ripka is gaining on Leal. So that's not enough, right?
No,
I mean, I think
we're on that level out stage, right?
Yeah, the tires have leveled out for sure, but that makes me question if Leal has anything in the tank.
I don't know. The lead down to 13.8 seconds, 16 laps remaining. George Leal, let's check our pit board one more time. So we pit on lap 85. That would be, if you double it, lap 170, Leal would come in. I mean, we're almost there. Let's see if I can pull up the laps. Well, 15 to go. He's 160 right now. So 10 more laps would be 5 short for Leal. Wow.
Yeah, I just don't know, man. That's 5 laps is a lot. Like, if
could you get a teammate to come up close to you and siphon off a little gas? I mean, I don't know. You got a rubber hose or something, Jared?
Right. I mean, he's made his bed. Then no matter if he can make it or not, this race is whatever he has in the tank is what he has. He can't add more to it unless he comes down pit road. So he's made his bed with this strategy. If he doesn't have enough fuel, he's not going to win the race. He's not even going to finish in the top 10 if he doesn't have enough fuel.
Let me ask you this. If it was clear to you that you couldn't make it right now, are you on pit road? Or are you saying, hey, I'm going to ride it out. Maybe there's a caution or something. We'll see what happens.
Well, you have to run it out at this point and hope for a caution. I mean, there's no other option at this point, right? You kind of have to lay in the bed you made, right?
I don't like my bed, Jared.
Well, you can get another one, I guess, right?
I can make another, I guess. Not much of a carpenter, but I'll give it a shot. Lance Ripka now 13.4 behind. Jason Ratliff doing a nice job staying behind him. He's holding off Bryce Reiner, so Jason Ratliff doing a great job of holding off Reiner here. He's now 3.5 seconds ahead. You got Greg Ratliff, another 3.3 back of Reiner. Then Jason Jackson 6th. It's Paul K. Travis in 7th. Claus Williams in 8th. Abear and Beller rounding out your top 10. The story, though, is can Leal make it? I mean, only time will tell, Jared.
Well, here's the thing, Dean. These lap times have got us to the point where there is really everybody's running about the same lap time. We got a couple stragglers that are off pace, but really everybody's running around the same lap times. 25.5, and Paul K is not going to make it. He pitted on 84. Keep in mind, Leal pitted on 85.
Okay, so Paul K gives it up here with 10 to go. That's going to make him fall. Well, guess who is coming up through the field? Brian Helm into 12th place.
Yeah, Helm is actually about a half a second behind our race leader. He's going to get one lap of his 2 laps back. And that's going to open up him an idea to maybe get a couple more spots before this race is over if he is able to clear these guys quickly.
Well, I guarantee you this, he's had the most fun. He's probably passed the most cars here tonight. So Helm on that 3-stopper, perhaps looking at a top 10. I don't think he'll quite make it, but you never know if guys have to pit.
Yeah, I was going to say, we do have Spear, Beller, and Kane that are on that long strategy as well. They are just ahead of Helm, and Helm will probably catch at least one of them before the end of the race. So I think that Helm has a good shot at the top 10 here tonight, which is probably where he was going to finish anyway. He just had a lot more fun doing it.
All right, so some of my tickets are cashing. Others, not so much, Jared.
Leo really slow center of 1 and 2 there. Backed up Corey Buskirk a little bit, who's kind of had the idea to just ride behind him. Helm is not going to have that idea, though.
No, Helm's coming through. And, whoa, Buskirk up into the wall. He hangs on. Good job there. So Buskirk does a nice job avoiding the new fresher tires of Brian Helm. Leo now 11.3 seconds. 6 laps remaining. He's going to cross the line, and it'll be 5 to go. Well, this is a backstretch. My bad there. But he's going to come across now. It'll be 5 to go. This is when effectively I said he would pit if he did the same amount of laps. How many can he do? He needs to do 5. Let's hop on board, Jared.
Oh, Helm onto the apron, slides up almost into Leo. That's not what Leo needs right now.
Wow, Helm out there with those tires, putting some heat on Leo, making him do the long way around. He really doesn't need this. Here comes Buskirk. Wow. I mean, if I was Leo, I would just lift completely here, maybe shut the engine and fall in behind these guys.
I think he did there, yeah.
So,
man, yeah.
4 to go.
Oh, my God.
George,
all right, call it.
Leo.
Call it. Is he going to make it or not?
He's going to make it. I mean, he is definitely going to try to make it. I mean, I do not see him pulling in.
Trying, yes or no?
Yeah, he's going to make it. George Leo's going to win this thing over Ripka. I mean, it's unbelievable what we're seeing here. That would effectively be, 90 laps, Jared?
Yeah, 91 laps, yeah.
91 laps. I mean, he's on 3 to go. He comes through 3 and 4 to go to 2 to go, Jared.
He ain't slowing down there. I am going to go the opposite way and say he's going to run out of gas. I don't know if that's going to cost him the win or not, but I think he's going to run out, Dean.
Well, we're on board. You can see he's letting off significantly here. 2 to go.
He's got 9 seconds. He could crawl around this track at this point.
That's the thing. He could just shut it off. If he was even worried about it, he'd be shutting the engine off, Jared. He's not even concerned. Through 3 and 4, you look up at the stand, the flag stand. The white flag flies for George Leo.
Turn 3 runs out.
Unbelievable. The 51 riding that black rifle machine around here, pulling a strategy nobody thought was possible. Ripka, no shot to catch him. He's through 3. He's through 4. Leo can coast to the line. The 51 is going to be victorious here in the Dover 175. Unbelievable.
Wow. I can't believe he did it. I literally cannot believe that he was able to go that long, Dean.
Absolutely incredible. Jason Ratliff in 3rd. Ripka was 2nd. Bryce Reiner gets 4th. Greg Ratliff 5th. Jason Jackson, Bear, Williams, Beller, and Spear, your top 10. Wow, and a lot of guys made it. Spear made it. Beller made it. I mean, it's mind-blowing.
Edward Kane, yeah. Edward Kane also made it. But Jason Ratliff, good run for him. I mean, but man, you got to be kidding me that Leo was able to stretch this thing and make it work.
That's just amazing. We had no thoughts that he could make it. He knew better. I told you, we just don't know a whole lot of here. These guys know their strategy. As he sits in his burned out, that's it. He's done now. He just ran out right there. One little donut, Jared.
So he had probably another half a lap at full speed to go. That's what that tells me. Man, what a job by George Leo. I mean, you got to tip your hat. That's a hard strategy. I don't think people realize how hard of a strategy that is to pull off. Is being able to temper yourself and run a pace that you know is slow, and you have to rely that you're going to run the right pace to win the race, and he did it.
It's amazing, especially like you said, you want to attack those things on the front end, Jared. He didn't. He did it on the back end. Unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, and you look down the rest of this lineup, you kind of talked about the top 10 there. Edward Kane, also on the one-stopper, finishes 11th. He qualified 21st, so big gain for him. Brian Helm, the only driver out there that did the three-stop strategy, he ends up 12th. Rachel Hunt in 13th. Walker in 14th. Baris 15th. Paul Case 16th. He ran out there. He had to pit. With 5 to go. He was running the top 5 most of the night. Dibble, with that speeding penalty, he'll come 17th. Buskirk in 18th. Brantley, tough break for him, had a top 5 car, may have finished there tonight, but ends up with damage and hits the inside wall on pit road. 19th. Whiting in 20th. And Fred Lester in 21st. That's all the cars that finished the race here tonight, Dean. We lost Gilly, Musial, Tony Ratliff, Bernard Person, and Michael D. Taylor did not take the grid tonight. So that's your rundown.
Heartbreak for Brantley and Lester late. Person with that retirement, but man, oh man, we see something new every week, Jared. Something we can't believe. We've seen it again here. What a thrilling event it was. Right now, let's take a commercial break. Allow me to catch my breath. We'll come back. We'll get some race interviews. All right, welcome back to Dover Motor Speedway, where George Leal outsmarts the field here and becomes home victorious in the Dover 175 here, brought to you by Alive Church Xfinity Series. We really applaud Alive Church and all of our sponsors out there. Jared, can't do it without them.
Absolutely not, and they've got their money's worth tonight, I think, Dean.
Yeah, I think they did. I think there's little doubt about that. Let's get right into some race interviews here as we bring in Jason Ratliff, the number 55, rocking that Swift and Wesson machine. Jason, what a run, man. 3rd place, maybe too short of what you were thinking, but man, did we enjoy it tonight. Congrats on that 3rd.
Thank you, Dean. Fun race, good, clean race.
I mean, what were you thinking out there, Jason? You had yourself a lead. You knew you could make it, I'm assuming. You did like 88 on the first run, more than anybody else. We didn't think that was a concern. How much were you saving, and how much did it, allow you to others to maybe catch up to you?
I was saving a lot, and I was trying to take it easy off exit because a lot of guys were getting loose. I actually had more tire on my right rear than my right front on that first pit stop, so I tried to change it around on that second run, but I was saving quite a bit. I was a moving roadblock for sure.
Well, I don't know about that, Jason. I thought it was awesome. I thought you were going to win this thing going away, but of course, I can't do math, Jason. So, Ripka come up there and got you, and Leal apparently could do 91 laps. What do you think of that, Jason?
George, he's prime time here, so congrats on his win. And I knew he had it kind of when him and Lance got out in the start, and I got shuffled back, I think, almost.
Let's talk about the first part of your race, because it's not about fuel mileage. It's about how you were racing up there. You qualified well, and you raced well, and we've been seeing more and more of that from you. I mean, what do you contribute, or what do you say that is allowing you to do so well this season?
A lot of it, I think, is my wheel and pedal upgrades that I've got. I came from a G27. I'm going to a Moza R12, and I got Simpson Pro pedals, and that helps a lot on just fine-tuning control. That way I save tire, and, I have really good feedback.
Well, you must, Jason. Been super impressive to watch. Watch how well you're doing. How your confidence must be growing exponentially. How are you feeling going forward? Are you going to get this thing into victory lane one of these nights?
Well, we'll see how the cards fall, but I'm hopeful, to be honest. But we'll see how everything shakes out.
Well, Jason, we're extremely hopeful for you, man. Been super impressed. It was a pleasure covering you tonight. I bought a winning ticket on you, but it didn't cash, Jason. But it almost cashed at top three. Awesome job, man. Big congratulations. We'll give you the floor. Any sponsors or anybody you want to shout out, brother?
Yeah, thank you, Dean. I'd like to thank Todd and George, all the admins here, for you guys putting on great broadcasts. I'd like to thank Live Church and East Coast Printing and RGR, the whole league. Such a clean, great race, and all my teammates out there.
All right, Jared, that is the number 55, Jason Ratliff, coming home in third place here this evening.
Yeah, and I'm down here with our point leader, or not our point leader, runner-up in our last year's champion, Lance Ripka. Lance, man, what a race here tonight. It looked like you had this thing maybe planned out from the beginning. It looked like that you were going to be able to chase everybody down on different strategies, but George Leal was able to get ahead of you, man. What a tough break for you.
Yeah, I would have thunk George could have pushed it out 91 laps. I don't think anybody on the racetrack would have figured that out. But hats off to him for making it work.
Well, let's talk about this race in general. So at the beginning of this race, you and George, I mean, you guys weren't saving fuel, it looked like to me personally. I mean, you guys were flying out there. You had opened up about a almost 6-second gap before pit stops even began. Did you feel like that was the pace you had to run to win this race? And at that time, did you already have the calculations going as far as when you were going to pit and when you need to pit on the second pit stop, or was it kind of a fluid situation there?
Yeah, I already kind of knew my pit cycle from last night's testing. I don't know how we got 91 laps. The best I could get was 86, so I knew from there I was going to have to stop 2 times. So I just made it a point that I was going to stop. I was going to push it to 75 laps, but I just got too tight, and I allowed George to catch me there at the end of that first run. But yeah, the whole plan was to go in at 70, 75, and then do kind of the same, and then have 50 laps or so at the end. But got to play the race, and kind of forced my hand a little bit to go in a little bit earlier than I wanted to. But yeah, second, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of answered some of the follow-up questions I was going to have there, Lance. I mean, what a race. And second place, still great. I mean, still great run for you. We look ahead, heading to Road America next week. How do you feel about that track? A track we haven't seen in a while on the Xfinity schedule since they don't race there in real life anymore. Is that an opportunity for you to kind of pick up some points on Mr. Leal there?
Well, I think the only way I'm going to pick up points is if George has a bad day. But I'll do my best to keep it up front. Points race on that one. That's a pretty tough track for me anyway, so just try to keep it clean and keep the fenders on it, maybe catch a couple bonus points here and there.
Well, Lance, what a race. You put on a show. It was exciting watching the different strategies transpire as this race went on, but I'm going to turn the mic over to you and let you have the last word on your race here tonight.
I want to give George a round of applause there. He ran a hell of a race. Alive Church, appreciate all the support they give us. WTTV for putting on these awesome broadcasts. And, of course, all those guys in the background, George, Greg, Todd, all them. Thank you for putting together a great league.
All right, Dean, that was our runner-up here tonight, Mr. Lance Ripka.
Yeah, Lance did a great job. I mean, he led a lot of laps here tonight, but one guy did a little better. He outplayed them all. The 51, George Leal in victory lane. Congratulations, George. One hell of a race.
Appreciate it, Dean. That was stressful there, to say the least.
Well, it's stressful and confusing a little bit. You come in, I think, around like lap 85 on your first stop. We think, okay, this is, a bad attempt at trying to make it to 87, 88. You got no hope. You obviously weren't thinking that. What were you thinking?
Well, I had plenty of fuel, and I'm not going to lie, Paul blew a tire, and I got real nervous and I knew I had a couple extra laps, so I knew I would be able to get the laps on the second run. But I checked my right front after the pit stop, and it was 11%. So I don't know if I made the right call there or not, but yeah, I panicked.
Well, I mean, what were you thinking when you really thought you could do 91? And we got in your car a few times. We didn't hear you shutting it off or anything. How were you getting such good fuel mileage here tonight, George?
I don't really know. I thought halfway you only needed 88 laps, so I knew I did 85 in a practice run, and then I was just checking my fuel as we were going, and I had plenty of fuel, which was kind of surprising to me. So I knew a lot of guys were going to pit around 60, and Lance kept going. So I was like, well, he's definitely going to try to make it on one stop too. And then he ended up pitting, so I was a little nervous there. And like I said, I was going to go run the whole thing out of fuel, but then when Paul blew that right front, I kind of panicked and took it in there a little earlier than I planned on it.
Well, I want to talk about that early part of the run. So you and Lance get off to a great start. I mean, literally from the first corner, you got yourself a lead. Now you're pacing him, and at the end of that run, you're closing in on him a little bit. How were you feeling about just head up, just racing Lance? You think he could have got him anyway?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have liked my chances. It would have definitely. I think I would have definitely had to have that real long run because he was so good until I was able to catch him, I guess, right there around lap 60 or so. And then I would have still had to pass him. So I do feel good about the long run, but I'm usually not quite as good on the short run. So.
Well, George, I can't tell you how many times you proved us wrong in the booth, time and time again. You think out these strategies and you do these things. I mean, do you come into these races with a definite plan on what you're doing, or do you roll with the punches as they come?
Sometimes if it's clear, like you're not going to make it on one less stop, then it's a lot easier because you can kind of just play off of the guys around you and break it into even portions. But tonight, I had no plan. I knew it was either going to be 60 or 88, and I don't know if it's because the track was so hot and we had to be out of the throttle more, and we got a little bit better fuel mileage. Because, like I said, I did a run around 108-degree track temperature, and I could only get 85 laps. So I was able to get a few extra laps due to the temperature, I think. So it kind of worked out.
Well, brother, it was simply amazing to watch. You take over the points lead now, and that's always a great thing. I mean, you got your confidence is sky high. You got to be looking forward to the rest of the schedule here, are you not, George?
Yeah, it's exciting to be in it. Lance is going to be super tough as usual. The guy's really consistent, so just got to keep putting together good runs, and we'll see how it works out.
Well, I want to thank you for putting on an exciting show there. I mean, we didn't think you could make it. You made it. You put it in victory lane. I mean, you've got several victories under your belt here at RGR. But I put this one near the top of the list, George. It was an awesome thing to watch. Big congratulations. We'll turn the mic over to you, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys being here and doing this broadcast, and thank all the guys that show up and put this league on. We have 25, 35 cars almost every time on Sundays and Thursdays, so it's really awesome, and I appreciate the competition. And then give a shout out to Alive Church for keeping this thing going. I appreciate that, and just say keep fighting for my Aunt Susan. She's still battling.
Absolutely. We'll second that. Susan, we're with you. We're praying for you. Jared, George Leal, down in victory lane. Expected, unexpected, I'm not sure, but one heck of a race from George Leal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you can say, right, Dean? I mean, he stretched to 91 laps, which, I mean, I looked at my data, and I was, my telemetry from earlier this year was only 81. And I was like, well, that's going to mean you're going to have to save a little bit. And he made it sound like that he was just nonchalant, making his move, and he knew exactly what to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's the shocking part of it, right? No surprise. I mean, we're surprised he isn't. That happens quite often around here, to be honest with you. What a race here tonight. George Leal proving us all wrong yet again. Heads down into victory lane. The series continues next week. It's the Alive Church Xfinity Series. You know, live fully alive, by the way. That's their slogan, and I like it a lot. Live fully alive. We'll have all the coverage every Sunday, 9:10 p.m. But for myself, Dean Doucette, for Mr. Jared Carr, that's going to wrap it up here from Dover, and we'll see you right here next time on Wind Tunnel TV.